That was an all too common Bengals L, but this is common Bengals W. I'm Sean Ross Sapp. It is October 12th, 2025. The Cincinnati Bengals, the second place Cincinnati Bengals, mind you. That is second place Cincinnati Bengals to you, sir. Fall 2-4 as they lose 27-18 to the Green Bay Packers. And it is, listen, the Bengals outscored the Packers in the second half, but it's weird to think that. Let's talk about everything. Joe Flacco era is upon us. He finishes 29 of 45, an average of just under 5 yards per completion. Very safe game. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 1 sack. Now, honestly, if you would have told me 219, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 1 sack, and Chase Brown carrying the ball for 4.7 a carry, I would have thought, oh my God, did the Bengals upset somebody? Did the Bengals make that happen? And then I would have said, wait a second. How many yards did the defensive line and the linebackers give up to the run? Oh, it's 153 yards. And yeah, Josh Jacobs running it up the Bengals' ass. That's what you had. Bengals defense, honestly, first half, it was solid, all things considered. Could have been a lot worse. 27 points a game. Listen, that last year, the Bengals win that game. This year, the Bengals don't win that game. Joe Flacco, first half, cheeks. Second half, pretty good, pretty solid. Instilled some confidence. I'll tell you what, Jake Browning would have thrown more than 0 interceptions on this day. But let's go into this. Let's go into the whole thing. I took notes as the game went along, but listen, you're going to see an awful lot of stuff this week, and the main thing that emerges is, how is Zach Taylor still calling plays? This guy wasn't good at Cincinnati. They went through 3 or 4 games, and I mean in college, where they didn't score a touchdown, and this one of these droughts again. The Bengals are on their longest drought of not scoring a touchdown in the first half since the 70s. Since the 70s. They had 3 points in the first 3 quarters against the Lions. They had 3 points across 4 quarters against the Broncos. They had 3 points in the first 3 quarters of the game before that. And today against the Packers, the Bengals had 0 points in the first 2 quarters. They finally did score a third quarter touchdown, which was the first since Joe Burrow got hurt. Now, if you're in the chat, please let us know what you think, all that. Zach Taylor is a Joe Burrow merchant. Yes, he is. Lord Crew says, I am confident that Flacco can and will win us games. Lord Crew, that's what today showed me as well. I think they're beating the Jets. I think this NFL season is wonky enough and top-heavy enough to where 9 wins with a tiebreak can get you into the playoffs, maybe. The Ravens lost today. The Ravens would need to go 8-3 in order to manage that now? Good luck. Even with Lamar Jackson, good luck. The Browns are done. The Browns are cooked. The Browns ain't coming back. The Browns are not contending this year. The Browns are officially in let's see what we can do for next year mode. That's where they are. The Bengals probably going to still try to win some games because they are confident that Joe Burrow can show up in week 15 and win 15, 16, 17, 18. And based on the 2 wins that they have already, they are hoping that Joe Flacco can put together 3 or 4 wins over the next 2 months. Now, can that happen? I don't know, because I would have thought a month ago that Jake Browning would have given them 1. I would have thought that the defense would have helped them with 1, but it's been a collapse. So this is what happens with Zach Taylor all the time. He has these horrible, horrible first halves and then gets by enough on the second half to where his own ego can justify him not giving up play calling. Now, I think that Zach Taylor is a lovely human being, and I think he's actually a good head coach. But I think that Zach Taylor is a miserable play caller. Now, the second half told a different story, but we've seen that before, right? And what good is the second half if the first half can't match it somewhat? Let's walk through how this game went. The Bengals only rushed 4 at the start of the game, which they might as well only have been rushing 4 by the end of the game because Trey Hendrickson was out. So now a back injury to Trey Hendrickson, who knows when you get him back? You don't have Shamar Stewart. You don't have Trey Hendrickson. That's horrifying. But what good is only rushing 4 if you're still giving up 7 to the QB run because Barrett Carter gets fooled by it all the time? Linebacker is not a premium position, but they spend premium draft picks on them. And I'm glad that the Bengals are using younger players. I'm very glad. It's just they take a lot of risks in the draft. There was that throw that honestly gave me a lot of optimism to the game. The tipped pass that Geno Stone ended up picking. I went from screaming, you idiot, at the number of missed tackles that we were seeing, 6 in the first quarter alone. The Bengals probably handed over, I would say, a good 35, 40 yards to the Packers based on missed tackles in the first quarter or so. By the way, this game flew by. But the Bengals were slipping and falling all over the place. The Bengals defense played kind of solid in that first half. Again, the cartoonish missed tackles were so frustrating. Now, if you would have told me that the Packers had 3 points in the first 20 minutes, I would have also said, well, the Bengals are going to have 0, and I would have been right. But Cam Taylor-Britt is bad. Even when he's good, he's bad. I thought he had good coverage on that deep pass and still couldn't break it up. But then he basically walked them across the goal line with that penalty. Frustrating. Same old defense. The Bengals need to really zero in on their defense and their line. I'll talk about transactions and all that, but it's very clear the Bengals can make a tight end work out of nowhere. They've made Tanner Hudson look good, right? Tanner Hudson, who keeps popping up and doing stuff, right? It took CJ Uzama leaving and them needing a tight end, and then Hayden Hurst leaving, and then Irv Smith being a flop, and Eric All destroying his knee, and Mike Gesicki getting hurt. But Tanner Hudson's there. Mike Gesicki's out, by the way, with a pectoral injury. If that's a torn pec, I would imagine they cut him. I know he's a favorite of Joe Burrow, but why are we, all due respect to Mike Gesicki, he is worth that amount of money. But in Cincinnati, why are you giving a tight end $7-8 million? What? Joe Burrow can make anybody look good. Tight end these days, unless you have, there's like really, really special tight ends, and then there are just tight ends. And then there's ones that work in the slot like Mike Gesicki. But he's vanished this year. Noah Fant is there. They're good. They're all right. So the Bengals defense also failed at the end of the game to stop Jordan Love. And honestly, that really flattened me. It's a bummer. The offense lost this game in the first half. The defense lost it in the second half. There is no cohesion. There was a spot on one of the drives where Zach Taylor didn't call a timeout and 18 seconds peeled off. Just, again, ego issues, man. The run game was a little improved. Samaje Perine's sturdy. He just gets the job done, right? You want him to pick up 1 yard, he's picking up a yard. You want the pile to get pushed with him in it, he'll make sure it happens. Thank God the O-line started to push the pile, but it's like they just discovered they could do that. was the 13-yard run by Chase Brown. That was his longest of the season. 9 carries for 42 yards. I would have thought that the Bengals carried the ball more than 16 times. There was a terrible jet sweep from Jamar Chase. Our blocking is not good enough for that. There were a lot of things that I was frustrated by watching this game. Now, let's talk about the big topic, and that's Joe Flacco, of whom I discovered was 6'6" this week. Had no idea he was 6'6". Big old dude. But this game did show me that Joe Flacco being brought in ahead of Jake Browning was a smart decision. Now, let's get back to the why the F are you calling plays, but this would happen if he was a head coach too. The Bengals have this great completion to T. Higgins at the 1, and for some reason, Zach Taylor's like, oh, go up there and get a snap off real quick. For what? For what? For what reason? Oh, so you can get a false start and get pushed back 5 yards. I don't get it, man. I don't understand it. I don't like it. There were 3 or 4 different things during this game that I went, why would you do that? That was one of them. There were a couple of timeouts that weren't taken that I was like, why? Every play was over the middle at the end of the game. That just wound the clock down. One thing I did like, they let Evan McPherson try to kick a 67-yard field goal. And it was with the wind helping him. And quite frankly, I think it should have counted. Ref didn't blow the whistle in time. And he kicked it and doinked it in. Would have been an NFL regular season record. 67 yards. They iced him. He didn't make it. This ends his streak. I think he hadn't missed a kick all season. That, of course, changed at the end of the game against the wind. But neither of those misses that Evan McPherson had made me think any less of Evan McPherson. I think he has been great this year. He's been fantastic. He's been sturdy. Maybe it was the long snapper situation. Maybe that's what changed, and Will Wagner is just better. But I like how that played out. So Joe Flacco, here's the difference between Jake Browning and Joe Flacco. Jake Browning is legitimately good at when pressure comes, he moves around and extends the play. I've mentioned this before. However, a lot of times when he is able to extend that play or not, he'll just chuck the ball up and hope one of those talented receivers goes up and gets it, right? He'll still get sacked a couple times, but he is a little bit mobile. He does extend plays, and I think that Jake Browning is actually good at that. And he's got an arm. Not an accurate arm, but he's got an arm. And I know some people will say, well, he led the league in completion percentage. He's got to be accurate. He was throwing 2-yard screen passes. Joe Flacco is just throwing the ball at the ground. He's not a part of your system, man. Throwing it on the ground. He's not going to run out there and trot around. He's like, nah, we'll get him next time, buddy. Bink. That was a big change for me. That was one of the big things I noticed. Now, he was averaging like 1.4 yards per completion very early. That's not ideal. That's a Zach Taylor special is what that is. Just check it down. Just throw a screen pass. Just throw it to your halfback. I am in media as a day job. I hate it when people say, oh, you gotta ask. You gotta ask. At some point, media should ask after every one of these first half performances, why haven't you given up play calling? Why don't you trust Dan Pitcher? Why don't you trust the guy that sees things from up there as opposed to what you see at the sideline? Because I think that Zach Taylor's job will come down to him not being able or not being willing to give up play calling. Now, there are certainly some head coaching gaffes that I see that don't instill a ton of confidence in me, but I think it'll be the play calling. Some more positives. Jamar Chase looked incredible. 10 receptions, 94 yards, 12 targets. T. Higgins had 5 receptions for 62 yards. Those are the kind of numbers you want to see out of them. Noah Fant, 4 for 4. Caught every target. Tanner Hudson, 4 out of 5. Drew Sample, 1 out of 2. So, Gesicki not targeted once, but 10 receptions, 2 tight ends out of 11 targets. All right. Yoshivas was terrible today. Yoshivas was so bad that I'm saying I don't know what's going on with Jermaine Burton, but give him a crack. Give him a start. Give Jamal Tinsley some of those. There were 2 very blatant drops there. But all things considered, that part of the offense did okay. Amarius Mims, I don't know if he came back into the game, but that was unfortunate that he was out. But listen, Joe Flacco got sacked once. He got sacked once. I'll take that out of any Bengals quarterback. Let's go ahead and read some of these chats here. I want to know what you guys think. Tim says the fact that Evan McPherson couldn't hit back-to-back 76-yarders shows me they need a new kicker. Eduardo, go Pack, go. MJF is right. Cincinnati is mid. Okay. Southern Illinois Sports with Chris Dexter. Yeah, he says they fought pretty good, much better than with Browning. It was much better than Browning. Grandpa Joe Flacco is better than the pick thrower Jake Browning. Yep. For a 5-day turnaround for Joe, not bad. You figure 2 of those days were travel, 1 to Cincinnati and then 1 to Green Bay. So really only 3 days of practice. And he's got another short week against the Steelers, who are very good right now. I respect the Steelers so much for just never giving up, man. I like the fact that after Big Ben wrapped it up, they're like, all right, we'll go out and try to draft a quarterback. And they still made a 500 season out of that. Didn't work out after 2 years. They moved on. They said, you know what? Y'all don't want Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. We'll take them. We'll take them. They had a good year. Then they both leave, both of them. And how's that working out for everybody now? We were talking about Russell Wilson throwing moonballs in Cincy, but they said, all right, nobody wants Aaron Rodgers. We'll take Aaron Rodgers in their first place, and they're going to run away with the division this year. Going to be the easiest division win they've had. Our good friend Lord Crew of Crew Day says, I'm confident that Flacco can and will win us games. Yeah, I think he's going to at least win a few. Easy Zach is play calling with a magic 8 ball. Just call me Tay. Says GG Cincy. I never want to play against Flacco again. Might not have to. Ravens are really their ass right now, man. Beating the Jets is like beating James Ellsworth. Give me 17 James Ellsworths to beat every year. I don't care. Think we beat the Steelers on Thursday. My good friend Drew offered to let me come to that game, but I get like a panic attack even thinking about driving in Cincinnati during rush hour. But I'll be here Thursday night. If you guys haven't checked out my shorts, I've got babies racing puppies at Empower Field on there. Go check out my shorts, guys. Apologies. That allergy-induced asthma. Watched a little bit of this game. Did you see the Titans clip where Cam Ward failed to throw and fumble? I did. As a fellow Kentuckian, I'm sorry, but go Pack, go. How do you end up a Packers fan? Yep, Yoshi's drops hurt a lot. Glad the Packers didn't look super awesome against the Bengals. They didn't. I mean, listen, if the Packers knew they were scoring 27 points, they'd probably be happy and knew they were going to win, though. Every year, the Steelers always play down to competition for 1 or 2 games. Bengals will win by 3. I would love it, man. I would love it. Listen, at 2-3, I can still say we got 2 wins. If they win and become 3-4, I can say, all right, there's a little bit of hope. If they get to 2-5, that's when I start to be like, damn, man. Let's do some mock drafts. Let's talk about cap casualties. Most glaring stat was 0 turnovers. Once Flacco started to settle in, he looked great. Feel good about the next several weeks. I do too. I thought the second half was honestly very promising. If the Bengals can get 18 points In the first half, I think they win whatever game they score 18 points in the first half in. Israel says better than Jake Browning. Winston was probably the better option for his mobility or Garoppolo. I liked Garoppolo. I know a lot of people said Cousins, too much guaranteed money. Cody says, only thing you got to ask is when the F is Joe Burrow coming back? If you say his name, maybe Joe Hendry could inspire Burrow to come back. Listen, Joe Flacco is not the Bengal or not the Joe we want, but it's the one we deserve. Y'all need a running back. They got Chase Brown and Samaje Perine. They haven't really seen what Taj Brooks can do. Running backs can emerge. You ain't got to go out and spend on a running back. They did on Khalil Herbert last year, and they regretted it. Imagine being in the Browns front office, seeing Mayfield ball out like he is. Baker for MVP. Yeah, and Dylan Gabriel, it looked like just okay. Okay. Today, 29 of 52. Jidkins didn't look good. I mean, he just wasn't getting it done. He couldn't run the ball past 6 yards. Other running backs did look good, though. But they threw the ball a lot today. A lot. No picks, no touchdowns, but that offensive line just was not holding up. The offensive line was the story of Steelers-Browns. That's what the difference was. Gabriel got sacked 6 times. Aaron Rodgers, none. Yoshi had 3 drops. That hurt a little. Yeah, it did. Browns are in tank bowl mode. The Ravens are free falling. Steelers are doing Steeler BS. The Bengals might squeeze in a 7 seed. Well, here's what's going to happen. Ravens are going to end up with a top 10 pick. They're going to pick somebody that's an absolute stud. They're going to nail the draft and be the top of the division again next year. If Zach goes, who's your preferred replacement? So admittedly, I'm not as hip to like who on earth could replace him. But I'd want somebody established, not Bill Belichick. Only 1 sack for Joe Flacco. You'll take that. I will take that. I'd be very happy with that. Won't be a pretty game. 13-10 Bengals. While Yearning Tree will be screaming in rage. What? What, Cody? I don't know what you mean by that. So much hilariously bad football today. I love it. I live for it. Red Zone was delightful chaos today. I'm a Red Zone guy, man. I subscribed to that tier. I got cable just to watch Red Zone again. That's it. And I'll cancel it as soon as it's done. And just NordVPN it up. I'm assuming by the end of the season we'll be questioning how we got 2-time Super Bowl MVP Joe Flacco. Joe Brady, or is he too young? I'd be completely fine with Joe Brady. I would really like Joe Brady, yeah. Urinating Tree is a Steelers YouTube guy, and it's very funny. Okay. All right, I get it. Oh, fellas, I am back here Thursday night. I've already got the cap casualty stream in mind for the bye week. Maybe even Sunday. I don't know. The Bengals fall to 2-5. I might be talking cap casualties. I may be talking about how some guys aren't getting it done. Negatives. Bengals defense has so many holes. Negatives. Zach Taylor, bad play caller. Bad head coaching today. Positives. Joe Flacco in the second half. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. Evan McPherson was a positive despite going 1 for 3 in field goals. Negatives. Injuries to Trey Hendrickson, Amarius Mims, Mike Gesicki. The thin get thinner. But there were some positives here. I'm not depressed after this game. Joe Flacco did that on a few days' notice. Cody Ford came in and patched the hole pretty quickly. But if you were a Bengals fan, you were looking at the last 3 seasons after the AFC Championship. And the Bengals are officially sub 500 since the AFC Championship game that they lost to the Chiefs. They are now one game under 500, I believe. No, they're at 500. So next week, this Thursday, will determine whether or not the Bengals are a sub 500 team since then. And I guess if you throw in that championship game, then yes, they are. Not ideal. I want to thank you all for joining me. Until next time, we're out.